Well, folks, it's another week, and that means another execrable episode of Ben After Dark. There are just hours left in the Joe Biden one-term presidency, maybe minutes, if you factor in that after 8 p.m., there's technically no functioning brain in charge of the country. But it appears the Biden family continues to make the most of their lame duck status. They've already pardoned their criminally cracked out son for fraud he committed internationally and earlier crimes we don't even know happened yet. Maybe he set wildfires in Los Angeles. We don't know. Apparently, his finger paintings are insured for millions of dollars, and they were in the way of the fire, and God knows they had no buyers. But if it was him, he's pardoned. Now Joe Biden is airing out her grievances like a real housewife of Washington, D.C. after 3 glasses of wine. In a new interview with the Washington Post, Dr. Jill Biden, who, I should remind you, is as much of a doctor as Wolf Blitzer is a wolf.
The way you nibble on my ear, the only words I want to hear.
Finally said the quiet thing out loud. For months, we've wondered exactly what the Biden crime family thought about Nancy Pelosi, the political equivalent of the librarian in Ghostbusters.
I know. Do exactly as I say. Ready?
Get her!
To no one's surprise, the Bidens are pissed off. Dr. Jill detailed a now fractured relationship with Nancy Pelosi, caused by the Democratic Party's backstabbing and front stabbing and side stabbing and top stabbing and bottom stabbing of her husband. Make room for a replacement nominee, as if this was an Aunt Viv situation where no one would notice the change between seasons. Jill Biden complained to the Post, quote, "We were friends for 50 years. It was disappointing." Jill, you can be disappointed by Moana 2. The music just wasn't as good.
You want to get through it? You just gotta chee-hoo it.
You are so bad at this.
But having your husband smothered with a pillow by his so-called friends, forever tainting his legacy and sending him out to pasture for a life of repeatedly telling nurses the same confusing story about his childhood friend Corn Pop.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude. And he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Well, that's f***ing infuriating. Those sources close to the situation said that Jill was seething at Pelosi during the ill-advised switcheroo. She kept her composure during the interview, going on to say, quote, "I learned a lot about human nature." I like to think Jill is talking about the Michael Jackson song Human Nature here, because if this was her first look into the demented minds of Democrats like Nancy Pelosi, well, that one's on her. To be fair, Hunter Biden did once call her a vindictive moron. Well, crack don't lie. Keep in mind, once Kamala was defeated, Pelosi, with the fresh blood still on her hands, continued to blame Joe Biden for the loss, saying if he had only gotten out sooner, there might have been other candidates to choose from. I'm not saying this is the work of a supervillain. I'm just saying Thanos saw this and said, "Damn, that's cold." Joe Biden also said she still believes her husband could have served for another 4 years if given the chance. This despite the fact that we've seen him slowly dying in front of our eyes for the last 10 months, and we're most likely strategically shielded from seeing him dying prior to that.
Gotta fill this in. I know, Santino, I'm trying, the day of, in this hand, you'll fill in the dates here, guys?
And if Bernie Lomax was given the chance to party without those annoying men holding him up, he would have had an awesome time.
Bern?
Mr. Lomax.
Bernie! Hey, don't slap him, that's your boss.
It's still funny to me that that movie got made, and that it's not a biography of Joe Biden. I can't say I'm shocked that the left's infighting has become public. The Bidens don't give a f*** for good reason. What precisely do they have to lose? The White House? Joe Biden's ability to breathe? Too late, my friends. Well, that's not the only place Democrats were flipping their this week. Welcome to Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearing, a political heavyweight fight that felt more Rampage Jackson than Andrew Jackson.
Oh my God, bro.
The left has been absolutely beside themselves since Trump nominated the unconventional combat veteran and former Fox News personality as a change agent for the position of Secretary of Defense. He's been dinged with allegations of sexual misconduct, excessive drinking, past racist comments, but it seems the Democrats' biggest issue with Hegseth is they don't like his LinkedIn page.
Do you think that the way to raise the minimum standards of the people who serve us is to lower the standards for the Secretary of Defense? That we have someone who has never managed an organization more than 100 people is going to come in and manage this incredibly important organization and do it with a professionalism and has no experience that they can tell us that they have actually done that? I have real problems with that.
Listen, you dolt, that's the reason we do want Pete Hegseth to run our military. When will you understand Americans want to shift the norm? Senators like Gary Peters appear to live by the motto, if it's broke, don't fix it. He'd be an amazing general manager for the Oakland Athletics. Donald Trump has now been voted president twice. The closest thing he ever had to public office before that was one time he was on Spin City.
I asked someone to drop by. Oh,
Mike?
sir?
Randall? Donald.
Mr. Trump here wrote The Art of the Deal. Then he wrote a new bestseller, The Art of the Comeback.
Wow. Well, sit down. Well, that must have been...
That was in the days when you were allowed to like Donald Trump. If you haven't noticed, this country is sick of professional politicians forcing woke standards like DEI requirements on things as important as our military. We would like the strongest armed forces possible, please, not the one that looks the most like the Pentatonics. Excuse me if I don't want to recruit an army the same way they cast a season of The Bachelorette. We are a generation raised on movies like Full Metal Jacket and Top Gun. We're supposed to feel bad about equating military service with masculinity. By the way, it's not just our generation, it's every generation ever in all of human history. Because let's face it, when it's time to war, you want the person who has the capacity to lift heavy objects to be in your army. Apparently, this makes us terrible now, though. Diversity is our strength or something, which is why our current Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin has decided to hire the photographer for United Colors of Benetton as his press relations specialist. And also, he's decided to lose wars. Democrats continuously badgered Hegseth about his past drinking habits, extramarital affairs, as if he got hammered one night and killed a mistress by driving her off a bridge or something. That would have been terrible. Too much, obviously. They wouldn't have run that guy for president repeatedly. Even worse, Pete Hegseth doesn't know who's in ASEAN. I know, right?
You're not qualified. You talk about repairing our defense industrial complex. You're not qualified to that. You could do acquisition and cross-servicing agreements, which essentially are security agreements. You can't even mention that. You've done none of those. You talked about the Indo-Pacific a little bit, and I'm glad that you mention it. Can you name the importance of at least one of the nations in the ASEAN, and what type of agreement we have with at least one of those nations? And how many nations are in ASEAN, by the way?
I couldn't tell you the exact amount of nations in that, but I know we have allies in South Korea and Japan and in AUKUS with Australia, trying to work on submarines with them.
Mr. Hegseth, none of those countries are in ASEAN.
Across.
None of those 3 countries that you've mentioned are in ASEAN. I suggest you do a little homework before you prepare for these types of negotiations.
This is supposed to be a big gotcha moment. But let's be real, 90% of that room doesn't know who's in ASEAN, and I really doubt Tammy Duckworth did before she prepped for the hearing. It turns out ASEAN is an economic union, not a defense alliance. It's about as relevant for this hearing as asking Scott Bessent, the prospective Treasury Secretary, to explain the conditions of NATO membership. Like, wrong nominee. When Hegseth is asked questions that actually mean something for the position and got to prove his extensive experience, well, that part just wasn't important to the Democrats.
What is the diameter of the rifle round fired out of an M4A1 rifle?
That's a 5.56.
What do you think are most important strategic bases in the Pacific?
In the Pacific, Guam is pretty strategically significant.
How many rounds of 5.56 can you fit into the magazine of an M4 rifle?
Depends on the magazine, but standard issue is 30, Senator.
And what size round does the M9 Beretta standard issue sidearm for the military fire?
A 9mm, Senator.
What kind of batteries do you put in your night vision goggle?
Duracell?
Yes, he can lead our military. These are things that actually matter. You look to experts for what they know best. I don't care if he ever analyzed a payroll or stayed sober at a company party. I care that he knows combat, that he has firsthand experience on the ground, and he hasn't just played Halo at a fancy business school.
Wait, hang on a second. But pause.
Listen, I wouldn't hire Rambo to design my wife's wedding dress, and I wouldn't hire Vera Wang to bomb Somali renegades. Just doesn't make sense. Unless you're talking about hitting the Somali terrorists with dresses like this hideous number. Well, we'll get to more of whatever this is in one moment. First, I used to think restless nights were just part of life. Tossing, turning, waking up with the sore back. I figured that's how sleep worked. Then I discovered Helix Sleep, and let me tell you, it's been a game changer. So here's the thing. I tend to toss and turn at night. That's particularly true if I had one of those mattresses you just get off the shelf at one of the big mattress box stores, but that's not what Helix does. What makes Helix different is they don't sell you a random mattress. They actually match you with the perfect one for your body and sleep style. Whether you're a side sleeper, back sleeper, somewhere in between, they've got you covered. And trust me, when you find the right match, you'll wonder how you ever slept on anything else. Right now is actually the perfect time to upgrade your sleep because Helix is offering an incredible deal. Go to helixsleep.com/Ben, get 27% off site-wide plus 2 free dream pillows with any mattress purchase. That's helixsleep.com/Ben for 27% off site-wide plus 2 free dream pillows with any mattress purchase. helixsleep.com/Ben. I took that sleep quiz. It matched me with a mattress that actually, was nice and firm so that it didn't mess up my back and it's breathable. That's what I was looking for, and Helix made it happen. Head on over and get your personalized mattress, helixsleep.com/Ben, 27% off site-wide plus 2 free dream pillows with any mattress purchase. Also, as social unrest escalates and crime rates climb, securing the safety of your family is more crucial than ever. Now, listen, you know I love the Second Amendment. I got a bunch of guns in my house, but the thought of using lethal force, not ideal for everyone. That's why you need to check out Byrna. You wouldn't want to make a mistake in your home. God forbid, could be the worst thing that ever happened to you. Introducing the Byrna Ungun, the non-lethal self-defense platform. Lightweight, simple to use. It uses an easy-to-load 5-round magazine. It's powered by an 8-gram CO2 cartridge. Byrna launchers fire a 68 caliber chemical-filled projectile using patented pull-pierce technology, where the CO2 canister is only punctured on the first trigger pull, meaning your launcher is always at the ready. It's capable of incapacitating an attacker for over 30 minutes. It's accurate and effective at over 60 feet. It requires no permits, no background checks. It's interstate travel friendly. With Byrna, you'll be prepared to defend. The Byrna is a safer, more sensible alternative that could potentially save lives on both sides, protecting both user and aggressor. Thank you to Byrna for sponsoring this video. Go check out this week's episode of Ben After Dark on Daily Wire Plus, brought to you by Byrna. Well, from a political party that shot itself in the foot to a podcast guest who literally shot himself. Literally. Houston rapper OG Too Low was a guest on the live podcast One-on-One with Mike D, which I think refers to both the format of the show and its total listenership, when this unfortunate thing happened.
You had a different route. You just went back to what you know. You feel what I'm saying? So I'm just showing them the difference between trying to be something that you're not and choices we got in life. Those were your choices. Who shot who? Somebody got shot?
Lo, you good, Lo?
I hope. Y'all good?
Damn, Brody.
I think we're going to have to watch that again, please.
Who shot who?
By the way, I got to say something for host Mike D right there. He is utterly unflappable. Somebody shoots himself right in front of him, and he's like, did someone just get shot? Like, how often does this happen on his set? It looks like the rapper was fidgeting with something in his pocket, and in turn, unintentionally fired a weapon into his pants. Now, luckily, OG Too Low shot himself OG Too High, or else he'd only be rapping as part of the Chipmunks. His balls would be missing, just like members of Hezbollah, or Ellen Page. Mike D would later report that no one got injured. I did notice OG Too Low's jeans have seen gunfire before. Well, somebody apparently hasn't heard my ads about Byrna less lethal weapons.
Introducing the Ungun.
I know they say any publicity is good publicity, but this isn't going to get me to check out One-on-One with Mike D again. But it did give me an idea about how to make my next interview with Matt Walsh more exciting, and he thought crashing the DNC was scary.
Ben wins every debate.
All right, folks, we've suffered together through another episode of Ben After Dark. We'll see you here next week.